23. Bondage devices made exclusively for human innocence are illegal for corporations to own or employ, unless in order to subdue incompetent, inferior, disabled Jiminy Crow, who just didn't know what he really wanted until the bigots tied him down and told him. Sorry, it's kind of emotional. 24. Jiminy Crow may be exploited for money, ransomed as a consumer against his will, and threatened with segregate treatments, bringing serious bodily ramifications to his involuntary person, but is absolutely crazy for calling himself a psychiatric slave, even when other Jiminy Crows around the globe are cawing about it all around his world. Jiminy Crow, 25, Jiminy Crow is too impatient and is in everybody else's way all the time. Unless he is in isolation as an inpatient, where he may be safely ignored at length. There he is still occupying expensive space, and though he is involuntary, he is still always the only one who should be blamed for being forced there. 26. Society always accommodates Jiminy Crow, not the other way around. Question: how may we support our king, Martin Luther Jr.'s dream of founding the IAACM, the International Association for the Advancement of the Creatively Maladjusted? And Mind Freedom International has already filed the paperwork to start this up a long time ago, but I think when King was talking about being psychologically creatively maladjusted or whatever, I think he was talking to everybody who might pick up the cause in the future. As the most diverse ethnic group to date, we need only look to one another to make the MLK dream a reality. Equality cannot be called a dream for some and a delusion for others. Those who argue thus are the only ones living under a true falsehood, because equality, by its very definition, is a street that must run both ways, merely to be truly an actual reality. We must remain maladjusted to any substitute to this equal reality. We together can creatively advance all peoples mixed with our own mad or otherwise while asserting mad ethnicity. We thereby institute a paradigm shift away from arguing obscurely against one unfair horror treatment at a time, by leave of a sanist agenda and a sanist's own bigoted spear of false authority. The bigot's agenda of using as a base argument some medically involuntary psychological effectiveness is on very unsound grounds. The bigot must forever make opaque arguments and forever invent brand new terminology to obscure again old controversy, while covering the excesses with printed paper degrees, asserting in essence a psychological superiority to intimidate ordinary yet more aware people who can already apply equality better. We can therefore rightly argue to eliminate any involuntarily coerced segregate treatment because it is unequally applied. We can challenge the reasoning of the bigot's true agenda of segregation of the mad by the bigot rationale of our genetic, cultural, and/or circumstantial inferiority to him. Then the bigots stand for a psychological superiority by culture, by biology, culture, and environment will eventually become unstable enough to overthrow him from his dictatorship over the public's conscience. We must bring this so-called expert back down to the base issue of equality that any unbigoted member of the public can understand with or without a college degree, and thereby challenge all those who claim to be intelligent but cannot even equally measure equality in practical applications. We must not live in dictated shame, but instead invest ourselves in mad pride, for in us lies the hope of the consciousness of others. We must not let others cure any people of equality. To clarify and resist obscure and lengthy bigoted inventions, ethnically mad Jiminy Crow will speak of his visions of complete ethnic equality and use his talents to find creative ways to make the dream less of a delusion for children of the future. Already there have been created many fun ways to involve and include the non-sanist who wishes to join our mad community cause. We must not sit and wait for a bigoted society that has tried for hundreds of years unsuccessfully to integrate us by force into their community. Instead, we must open our vastly sensitive hearts and make even more room inside them to actively seek ways to joyfully integrate the lost in this world that choose to come into our own mad community of talented ethnic mental dissidents. We must wage a mad pacifist peace campaign for equality that keeps no involuntary boundaries and knows no surrender to hateful determinism. The sanist has struggled unsuccessfully to create a solid definition of mental inferiority that would stand the test of time. To that aim, he has created literally hundreds of labels meant to divide the mad community into fragmented pieces. And yet, for all his efforts, has still not succeeded in convincing the mad of his rationale. We are a strong mentality. The sanist has also proven himself unable to divide the mad from the sane reliably enough to maintain public approval for many of those labels once invented. Drapetomania is one of them. I'd like to talk more about that later. What all this proves is that though we are neither superior nor inferior to the sane, those who argue equality from the standpoint of madness and call out their delusions or dreams of equality which are just, will always have an advantage in arguing for equality. You cannot say, "You're not mad, you're just crazy." Arguments for mental equality will benefit the mental dissidents arguing against the bigot for any group the bigots invent to persecute in the future. For by protecting the nonviolent mad, you protect constitutional free speech amendments as well, and allow a sympathetic public to organize peacefully for equality upon an already established issue. Indeed, you may ignore the peaceful protester as mad, but not harm him for drawing a crowd. The echo to everyone who was ever opposed in advancing human rights was, "Silence that mad dissident." Where nonviolent mad persons have equal protections, a common basis for all equality protections can be advanced, and the advancement protected by the free public, both mad and sane, more readily. We mad have a right to object to the criminal profiling of mad ethnicity. We are the stakeholders, and again argue both for reforms for the wrongly accused and prosecution equality for all, so that all possible victims receive equal protection from offenders.